Dawson's record, the fact that he has gone the full trip with Mark Delaney. So a symphony to come into the ring for Mark Dawson, who waits till the end of it and gets in. And we await the arrival of Andy Flute. Here we go. Who was, again, well under par when he fought Carlos Christie when we were last here at the end of October. In fact, a month ago today, 29th of October. And Carlos Christie beat him, he outpointed him, and he well outpointed him too, Barry.
Yes, indeed. He was well below par, just didn't perform to his best. But you know, you get this with lack of motivation, whatever it is, after having been defeated by Neville Brown for the British middleweight title. You know, it's a real downer for him. Hard to get himself back up, but he'll be wanting to win here tonight. And on record, you know, the record suggests that he should win here comfortably.
Yeah, he's a decent fighter, as the record shows. Yeah, decent punch, decent fighter.
Yeah, but Mark Dawson won't make it easy for him.
Well, not exactly eager to get into the ring, either of these two boys. Scheduled for 8 rounds this. And, well, we shall see. Here's Alan.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a middleweight contest at 12 stone over 8 3-minute rounds. Introducing in the red corner with the black and the white striped shorts. 7 wins from 17 contests. Will you welcome, please, from Burton-on-Trent, Mark Dawson. And his opponent in the blue corner with those light purple shorts, 15 wins and 1 draw from 21 contests, 9 inside the distance from Cosley, Andy Flute. At the weigh-in today, Mark Dawson scale, 12 stone exactly, Andy Flute, 11 stone 10 pounds. Your referee is Jim Pridding and your timekeeper Harry Foxall, and this is 8 3-minute rounds.
Well, the contrasting conditioning, very apparent.
For the first round.
Round 1 then. Dawson in the black, and the Flute, I guess you'd call them lavender-coloured trunks. Unusual for a pro boxer, but there you go.
I think they're nice. I think they're lovely shorts. Look great, and as you say, the difference in conditioning and shape here is pretty remarkable. Andy Flute, superbly conditioned, tanned and muscular guy, and Mark Dawson looks a little bit podgy around the middle. And you know, the only consolation is that Dawson's been used to being hit by super middleweights rather than middleweights, so you might find Andy Flute's punching power not quite as hard as the likes of, certainly not as powerful as Mark Delaney. But he'd be quicker and he'd be able to nail him, that's for sure. Good right hand from Flute. This could turn into one of the best fights of the night, Dave.
Well, he's certainly got to rehabilitate himself after that defeat at the hands of Carlos Christie last time.
Good left hook to the body from Flute. That's impressive stuff from him. He's got to keep bending over because Dawson is very soft around the middle. He should bring that right hook down below to turn the right, like as a sort of an uppercut, and then whip in the left. Just bend over to the left side and whip the left hook into off the jab. Everything sort of works off the jab. It's impressive stuff from Andy Flute. Good right hands, good left hooks, good boxing here, and he's hitting Dawson with a lot of punches. Dawson's face well reddened and marked already. The right hand on the side from Flute. Must be hearing me round to the body and mixing his punches up well to the head and body. Boxing.
Well, he certainly looks a lot more positive than he did when he fought Christie. He's already put together more punches this round than he did in the entire last contest.
Yeah, he's fighting in front of his own crowd here. He's spurred on by that. He's just seen Neville Brown defend his middleweight title, and he thinks, well, there's every chance that I could get a crack at that again.
Yes, of course, he fought Neville Brown in Brown's first defence, and he was going quite well, actually. Got stopped in 7 rounds on cuts.
I like the way he's reaching with that right hand. Dawson is pulling down, and he's reaching right in with it, and he's been able to nail him with it several times here in this first round already.
Comes from a big boxing family, does Andy Flute. His dad and his uncle in the ring there with him. His dad, Alan, is on the right. As you're looking at there, they both fought on the same bill once, which I guess must be unique in professional boxing.
Bonus 10 seconds. Seconds out, round 2.
Second of 8, Andy Flute in the lavender trunks, Mark Dawson in the black, Jim Pritting the referee. And there's no doubting that Mark Dawson could lose a good half stone, but as I said earlier, he's comfortable at this weight, and some fighters just feel better, just you know, carry a little bit of weight around the middle when they get in the ring.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sure himself, if he allowed himself time to get into a proper training regime, he'd be down to middleweight without a doubt. But you know, he's taking fights at short notice, and he doesn't. He's got to get ready for fights on very quick notice, as I say. So he didn't give himself time to get into a proper routine. He could, no doubt at all, make middleweight. But he's caught between the super middle and middleweight divisions, and he's lucky because in the olden days he'd have to fight light heavies.
Well, he's come in bang on 12 stone, which is the super middle championship limit, of course, and he's got what, 3-4 pounds over Andy Flute tonight.
Yes, Flute's speed is impressive tonight. He's boxing from the center of the ring. He's not losing his composure here or going erratic. He's just keeping it nice and controlled, working off his jab, right hand, left hooks to the body. Impressive looking sharp, turning over the right hand, textbook stuff. Comes in really quickly, and he's walked onto a few shots, but he's been impressive in the first 2 rounds. This is the second round, and he's putting them together really well and boxing the ears off Mark Dawson.
Well, last time out against Joe Calzaghe, Mark Dawson was just simply cold cocked, stopped in 90 seconds. But he's coping okay with Flute, although Flute is starting to sort of come down off his toes and plant his feet and land some really heavy artillery. And we're only in the second, which doesn't really sort of look that good for Mark Dawson, considering this is an 8-round fight.
Dawson hasn't taken anything too solid as yet, but Flute is landing some clean, accurate punches. Nothing too devastating, but they're accurate. They're hitting the target area, and he's bringing in the body shots too, which I'm sure will begin to sicken Mark Dawson as the fight goes on. He could step in a little bit further after his punches, David. That would make the difference between punching reasonably hard to punching very sharply indeed.
Well, he doesn't exactly have to go looking for Mark Dawson, does he?
Indeed not.
And there is Mark Dawson. He used to box under the name of Mark Lee as an amateur with the Burton Boys Club. But really better known as an opponent. He was chosen as Robin Reed, the Grim Reaper, as his first opponent. when Reed turned pro back in February of last year, and Reed duly stopped him in one. Working with Wally Swift in the corner.
Every time I see Wally's got a towel around his shoulders. I saw him out in the street there a couple of weeks ago. It was the same.
Ball is 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 3.
Well, 2 rounds completed, 2 rounds both for Flute. And as Barry pointed out in the previous rounds, it just shortens the distance a little bit, just ups the pace by a notch, and Dawson, I feel, is there for the stopping.
I like the way he's bringing that left hook up to the body. That's impressive. He's just got to, if he can step in a little bit further, Dave, after he's delivered 1-2s, and then whack in those body shots and put them together a little bit more.
Good jab.
Dawson started the round off with a right hook round the side. Don't kid yourself, this guy can punch a little bit. He's only got 2 stoppages of his 7 wins by way of KO, but there's no doubt 12 stone, he whacks you on the side of the head, you know about it, I'll tell you. So
He's not an unskillful boxer, Dawson. And,
yeah, he's pretty decent at most things. He keeps his hands up high, you know, mixes punches up quite well. Got a decent right hand round the side and a reasonable defense, so he's not bad. He doesn't move a lot, wide open to the solar plexus, and can be picked off with a jab.
Yeah, well, the point you made earlier, if he spent a couple of months in the gym getting in really good shape, the improvement would be sort of far in excess of the effort involved.
Yeah, what he's going to have to do if he wants to do is stop taking fights at short notice, give himself a 3-week program or a month's program of getting into shape and getting down to weight. And I feel sure that a couple of good heavy workouts in the gym, a couple of weeks of good heavy workouts in the gym would bring him down to the middleweight division, and he'd certainly be a better and more forceful fighter.
Yeah, because he's still only 23.
Yeah, he's only a baby, 23 years old.
Yeah, he's got a decent jab, keeps his right there or thereabouts when he throws the jab. Yeah, as you pointed out, he's stopped a couple of opponents, so if there's a punch there somewhere, he's got the basis of ring craft there.
The problem is when you get into the role of a trial horse, it's very hard to get out of it.
Oh, well,
it's another story, and we don't want to get into that. But there you have it. He's fighting better in this round because Flute is not. He's not taking the initiative. He's not stepping up a gear. He's fighting at the same pace. Just look at the way Flute fights. He throws 3 punches together, then he stops punching, takes a step back, thinks about what he's going to do, and throws the same combination over and over again. It's a left hand, double jab, right hand, and then throws a left hook. Dawson coming into the fight a little bit better, taking the fight to Andy Flute. Got a round from Mark Dawson, but still you got to give it to Andy Flute.
Oh, Wally Swift has grown a sponge.
Jabbing his head off with it, you know, rooting him with them jabs.
Well, leaning through the ropes is Andy Flute's uncle Colin, his former heavyweight. I think he fought Frank Bruno early in his career. I've got a vague memory, or maybe goes back further. Maybe I saw him against Joe Bugner. I certainly saw him. I don't want to insult him by saying he's older than he is. Mere stripling youth. 4th round coming up to the halfway stage then. And really a fight there for the winning for Andy Flute. Just a little bit more speed, a little bit more ambition, and he really could stop us any time he wanted.
Yeah, I think he needs to raise the pace a great deal more before he can hurt Andy Flute, or before he can stop Mark Dawson. He needs to hit him with a couple of really good, solid punches and then jump the pace up and then continue to hit him with combinations. But Dawson feels pretty comfortable in there too, and he can almost give as much as he got in the last round. So he's getting and settling into the fight more and fancying the job more. Because Flute isn't raising the pace and hasn't been coming in after his punches and digging his heels in to punch powerfully. There's too much space between those punches. A split second, he's throwing the right hand. It's a split second before he throws the left hook. So got to be continuity and combination punches. 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got to come rattling off together, putting you away from one foot to the other. Dawson's coming back into it. And he's getting a bit of encouragement from the crowd here too.
And Dawson, for his part, finding pretty much the same sort of fight. He started off in round one, maybe just a little bit more confidence.
I think he's a fair amount more confident now. He's beginning to take the fight to Andy Flute, stepping in on top of him, slipping the jab well, coming across with the right, and banging in his own little crisp combination punches. It's a better fight now from his point of view.
Yeah, well, I think if Flute lost this, really, he could kiss his career goodbye, because losing to Carlos Christian and losing to Mark Dawson back-to-back would not look that bright on your record. British title challenge or no. That's better.
Don't hold. Let go.
This is a good fight. Fought on even terms in that round, that's for sure. Yes, a couple of good punches from Flute in that round. Landed the right hand there, took a step back, bounced back in again, landed the right hand and the left hook. Some nice clean punches, but we didn't see much from Mark Dawson on slow-mo, but he certainly gave his fair share.
I think my eyes are going hard and fast on the back of the jackets. I thought it said bed and breakfast.
Seconds out, round 5.
4 to go. That's assuming it goes the full 8-round distance. And you can't help but escape the fact that Flute perhaps is making unnecessarily heavy weather of this fight. Dominated the early exchanges, but has allowed Mark Dawson back in.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to raise his pace. Started off at a fairly quick pace and hasn't been able to step it up any further than that. And he's been forced back in the last round. Mark Dawson has brought the fight to him, and he's made a fight of it. And it's just a typical performance from Mark Dawson. We saw him get blown out in the first round by Joe Kawasaki, but it was unusually sudden and abrupt for him, as he normally puts up a solid performance, and he's doing the same here tonight. Flute started off well, but Dawson coming back into it.
Well, like Mark Delaney before him, Flute finding that Dawson, no soft touch, even though he might look it, certainly isn't. And I guess Flute would have done well to look at what Calzaghe did against Dawson, just sort of catching him cold, just walk in winging.
Kawasaki's an exceptionally talented young fella. He's certainly a force to be reckoned with in the super middleweight division. Or light heavies. He's still young and he's growing up. He might end up a light heavy, but he's certainly an outstanding prospect, like Mark Delaney. We're trying to use the jab to snap Mark Dawson's head back and take control of the centre of the ring. A lot of these fights are controlled with a small ring from the centre of the ring, so obviously if you can get control of the fight, take the centre of the ring, you can dictate the pace, turn it up, turn it down, depending on how fit you are, how fast and furious you want the pace to be. He's fighting and edging forward and trying to take the centre on both of these guys' behalf. That's what it's all about.
Interestingly enough, Jim Pritting refereed Flute's last contest against Carlos Christie, so Flute knows he won't get any hometown favours from Jim Pritting.
If Dawson could move his head a little bit better, you know, he wouldn't get hit with that jab so often. He's got to learn to try and anticipate the jab coming at him and then just sort of move slightly to the right, move to the left and get a punch off himself in the meantime. He keeps walking into that jab of Andy Flute, snapping his head back and reddening his forehead.
You're jabbing his head off, and you hit him all the time, but you let him get it back. Right? Nice, that's come on. Come on, you know that. You know that.
What's this jab of Andy Flute? This is the most outstanding punch of the last 3 rounds. A solid jab, snaps, and the most upsetting and annoying thing in any fight is to keep getting the head snapped back with that jab. But Dawson did absorb all those jabs and came back, made a fight of it again.
Second jab, round 6.
Well, with every minute that passes, this looks increasingly like it's going to go the full 8. And I'm bound to say that's got to be disappointing from Flute, following that shock defeat at the hands of Carlos Christie, which was also on points over 8 rounds. His connections will have fixed him up with a confidence builder, and that confidence builder comes in the shape of Mark Dawson. But it's not working out like that at all.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be happy with a points win against Mark Dawson. You know, bearing in mind that Gary Delaney or Mark Delaney couldn't stop him, so he'd be quite pleased to go the 6th round or the 8th round distance and win on points. And there's time left for him to stop him. I just don't think he has the power to stop this guy. In fact, I'm pretty sure of it. Mark Dawson's a very courageous guy. He seems to absorb a good blow, and he's got a 4-pound advantage. And he's able to take a good shot. He's only young. Very difficult to hurt the young guys, apart from what Joe Kawasaki had done.
What is discouraging from Flute's viewpoint is that if sort of route A doesn't work, he seems to have a precious little idea how to sort of vary the attack. I mean, you'll watch, he hardly ever throws a body shot. It's all jabs to the head, jabs to the head.
Well, he was throwing body punches in the early rounds, but he stopped that because Dawson's coming forward. That's the difference between, I suppose, championship fighters and fighters who only ever get to fight for a title. Just the guys that can actually turn it up another gear, mix his punches up, raise his game.
A decent little short right from Dawson. caught Flute off balance. I don't think it hurt him, but it caught him off balance.
No, I think he just stumbled. He was slightly off balance there. But you watch what Flute does when he throws the right hand. He throws it off his back toe. He doesn't put his weight in behind it. He just throws the punch. He just pops it over. Doesn't throw his weight behind it. And that's why he's not doing any damage to Dawson, and that's why he's not discouraging him that much. He pops his jab and his right hand up on his back toe. Look at his right foot is off the ground every time. So he's not really a puncher. He's not digging his heels in, digging the flats of his feet in and punching with all his might. It's all just sort of arm punches and basically snappy punches.
Well, Dawson looking a little weary now. Ollie Swift will do a decent job keeping him going into the final round. 2 to go.
Push him on his back foot. So that means pushing on jab, so not just tickling it. Okay, in through the nose, out through the back. Nice, Dawson. Hand again, come on. Hand again, come on. Now, push them jabs, push forward all the way, push them back. That's in a quarter, yeah. All right, Terry.
Bonus 10 seconds.
Okay. Now you've got to knock him out.
So 2 to go.
Round 7.
7th, Flute in the lavender, Dawson in the black. And I don't know, Flute, a couple of rounds, 2 rounds, 3 rounds in front, making heavy weather of it though. What do you think, Barry?
Yeah, Flute. Flute actually 3 rounds ahead, but yeah, I don't think he's making it. I think this is a solid performance from him. I don't think we expected anything that dynamic from him. He's not really an outstanding puncher. He's not a chilling puncher with either right hand or left hook. He just sort of plods along and puts his punches together. And I think it's a reasonably good performance by him. But
well, I have to say that you know, if he's good enough to fight for the British middleweight title against Neville Brown, you know, you would expect him to deal with all due respect to Mark Dawson, you know, just a run-of-the-mill fighter more confidently and more purposefully than he's doing.
You know, sticking by what I said, I think he's putting up a reasonably good performance. And we see tonight, for example, the former world champion being beaten by what we've always described as a trial horse. You know, you can't expect guys to produce tremendous form every time they go out. But Andy Flute's putting up a decent performance against a guy that outweighs him by 4 pounds. And he's a tough young guy and a good performer. Puts up a good performance most of the times that he goes out. Not a bad attacking fighter, not a bad defensive fighter. He's given this guy plenty of hard work, and Flute hasn't been dynamic, that's for sure. I'll agree with that.
This round following the pattern dictated by the previous 6, except for the fact that Mark Dawson, if it was a 10 round, he'd probably win it because he's growing more purposeful with each round that passes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. This is a good round for him. He's keeping Andy Flute on his back foot, keeping tossing over those right hands, the pressure on him. He's moving his head a little bit more too. And this is a more successful round for him. He's definitely won that round. Mark Dawson did land a couple of solid punches in that round. One decent right hand snapped Andy Flute's head back with the left hook, and landed one particularly good right hand, which we didn't see in slow-mo, but it was definitely his round.
Bonus 10 seconds.
So
Second out, the 8th and last round.
last round, 8th round of this middleweight contest. I don't think there can be too many doubts, Barry, that Flute has got this, but, well, we agree to disagree about the manner of the win, perhaps.
Yeah, you don't think it's a sparkling performance for him, but, you know, remember this guy has only fought for the British title, and he's got up there. He's not world-class, he's, you know, domestic standard, and difficult for him to spring back after losing to Neville Brown, and Carlos Christie showed us that he couldn't do that. He's performing admirably tonight, I think. He's boxing well against a tough opponent. And these guys, the guys like Mark Dawson, can put up decent performance against the best of them, as we've seen before. And they can make you look bad, they can bring you down to their level. The reasonable performance. I think Dawson is coming back better in the last 2 rounds. I've given him the last round, and he's forcing Flute to go back. Oh, stopped a good right hand just as I opened my mouth.
So we're inside the last minute of this 8-rounder, and you've got to give Dawson credit.
Yeah, damn right you have. He's put up a really good performance and he's fought well. If he had been a bit fitter, who knows, he could have won this one.
Ah, there's the key. Well, we've seen one huge upset tonight with Carl Taylor outpointing Dingaan Tabala. I don't think we're going to see another, but you never know.
No, I don't think so. I think that Flute has done enough, but you know, these decisions are subjective, and fickle referees, and they have their own ways of scoring fights, and so you never know.
Yeah, Flute has it. Dawson says I was robbed, but I think Flute did enough in the early part of this contest. We'll get the verdict from Alan. Jim Pritting passing over the secrets of the scorecard.
For what it's worth, I think it was 79.5 to Flute, 77.5 to Mark Dawson, but that's only the unofficial score. Here's the real one.
Jim Pritting scores the contest, 78 to Mark Dawson, 79 to Andy Flute.
Well, just 2 rounds in it at the end, but well, as I say, Barry and I will agree to disagree about the method and style of that victory by Flute, but I think we both agree that the right man won. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to take another break, and we're going to come back, because when we come back, we're going to be talking to Barry Hearn. So, quick reminder, we've seen Neville Brown win, we've seen Dingaan Tabala lose against Carl Taylor, and we've just seen Andy Flute outpoint Mark Dawson. Come back and join me in just a couple of moments, live here on Pro Box.